Welcome to Face to Face. Our guest today is Desh Deshpande. He is a philanthropist, mentor, a successful entrepreneur who has started many companies, and also he has been involved with the venture capital world as well. We are going to talk to him today about entrepreneurship in COVID pandemic era. Desh, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you, Upendra.
Sure. And so in 2016, you wrote a wonderful book which dealt with almost every aspect of entrepreneurship. It was called the Entrepreneurship and Impact. Now, today, if I want you to go back 4 years ago, I'd add one more chapter on COVID-19 and entrepreneurship. How will that chapter read?
Well, I think we talked about a bunch of stuff and you did a few videos on that and so
Yes,
on.
we did.
But each of those things become even more important. I think people have to be entrepreneurial in everything, right? And when does that become important? It becomes important when things change. When things change, each one of us have two options. Either we grudgingly accept the change or we lead the change. And that's the difference between being entrepreneurial and not being entrepreneurial. And given what's going on right now with COVID, the changes have really accelerated. I mean, things have changed so much for everybody that either you could choose to grudgingly accept them and complain about them, or you can say, well, let's see, what's the opportunity here to do something with my life? And so that option remains the same. And then how do you deal with things to actually take your ideas forward and control? I think one of the things we talked about is people who are very entrepreneurial and good entrepreneurs have a sense of being able to separate what's controllable in their life versus what's not controllable. And suddenly the ratio of what's controllable to what's not controllable has shifted dramatically. And so the sharper focus you have in terms of what you can control and what you cannot control puts you in a good position to deal with it.
So now, for example, if you look today, if you are working for a company, you are nervous how long you are going to have your job. If you are a business owner or entrepreneur and you had raised all this funding and everything, and now you think, I don't know how the market is going to react and what is going to happen. And as all these things are going on, we have a very unpredictable elections. We don't know what will happen, how the outcome will be that. So, there is as I'm talking to a lot of entrepreneurs and business people, both Indian and non-Indian, I'm getting a sense of, gloom and doom. And if that is what the circumstances are, and entrepreneurs also have to be very realistic, what will be your advice? Just 2-3 points if you can talk about.
Yeah. So when do we start feeling uncomfortable? We start feeling uncomfortable when we see risk, right? You don't know what's going to happen and how are we going to deal with it. And so, it's all a question of relative risk. For example, you, me, almost everybody who's going to watch this video is all actually in a very fortunate situation. We're all educated, we have access to online, we are still connected, we're able to do things that we're doing right now. And so we are all in a very fortunate situation. So, I think I don't feel very insecure at this time, but also because we have the means, we have all the things that we need to cope up with. But let me go back maybe 30, 40 years ago when we were taking risks and trying to start companies, when that was not the thing that people did, But the attitude that I and Jayshree always had was that, we are all well educated. We will never starve. We'll always have enough to eat and drink and make a living. In which case, what is risk? Risk is not being able to do things that you really want to do. And so I think you have to put risk in its proper place in your own lives. So financially, I came here in 1973 with $8 in my pocket. So when I was starting all these new companies, as long as I had more than $8 in my pocket, I was ahead of the game, right? So with that attitude, what happens is you are able to face the challenges a lot better. Because, even when people lose jobs, for example, it was almost 89, 88, 89, when I left Motorola, where I was a big officer, and then started my first company and had a fallout with my co-founder.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't know what to do because, Jayashree was working, but then she quit her job as soon as we got funded. And both of us didn't have a job. And we had two little kids. We didn't have health insurance. We would have defaulted on a mortgage in a few months away. So it was like a sort of a difficult situation. But so it was an involuntary break from what was going on. But fortunately, 4 or 5 months later, we did get seed funded and started the next company. But a year later, when I look back, that actually was the most meaningful time I had, where it happened not because I wanted to design it, it just happened. But what happens is those changes actually get you to really internalize things, really understand what's really important for you, and how do you want to spend the rest of your life, and so on. And because when I look back, it was such a positive experience that I actually do it every 5 years. I take a break, and I really don't take that break knowing exactly what I'm going to do next, but use that as an opportunity to really reassess myself, because people change, things change for all of us. Okay. Our financial situations change, our family situations change, kids grow up. So when things change, you have an opportunity to do different things.
Sure.
And every time there is a change like this, sometimes it's voluntary, sometimes it's involuntary. You make use of that opportunity. And in fact, even people who lose jobs, not during the COVID times, but even otherwise, usually they find a job. It takes 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. And then a year later, you ask them, what was the most fun time you had? A lot of them actually say the time that they had in between, because they sort of enjoyed that freedom, enjoyed being able to freely think about possibilities and everything else. So don't live a life of fear. Put the risk in its perspective. I'm not saying you should be callous. I'm not saying you should be sort of.
This earlier you mentioned attitude, and I think it does play a very important role, especially in a life of anything we do. Attitude is very important. But say if I give you maybe 2 or 3 factors, for example, say the circumstances, and say the lack of opportunity or marketplace, and then attitude and your strength. So how important attitude is if you take into all these factors into account? And by attitude, again, I don't mean just the positive thinking. The attitude has to be also very realistic.
Well, that's number one. I think, and how do you know whether you have a good attitude or not? Are you energized when you get up in the morning? Because every time you see a problem, either you can cave to the situation and feel depressed and feel helpless, feel victimized, and then start saying, oh, poor me, right? Or you can say, okay, let me see what I can do about this situation and do something about it. And when you get on that track, then your brain is working on things, and you suddenly get an idea. That idea may be a stupid idea, may not even work, but you're so excited about that idea that when you get up in the morning, you want to try it, you want to work on it, and then it may not work, but then you don't give up, right? I mean, you say, oh, maybe there's another way to solve this problem. So, life essentially is like solving little puzzles. And if you get hooked on those solving puzzles, it actually doesn't matter whether it's COVID, non-COVID times. You're just solving those little puzzles and getting a big kick out of it. And
So,
so the attitude of converting every situation that you face in life into these small puzzles, I think is a very, very powerful asset to have.
now, I totally agree with you. You're the one you hinted about mornings, because the way I get up in the morning and what I do in the morning, I can tell right away that how my day is going to be the rest of the day today. So the morning is a very, very important. Actually, sometimes like I'm having a coffee or tea and my wife comes and says something. I said, please, not at this time. This is my time, and because I don't want to get off track. Okay, so I totally believe in the how the morning indicates. Now, on that topic, I would just like to get some sort of input from you that what should be some of the habits of anybody, not just entrepreneurship in the business, but if you want to succeed in your career, you want to succeed in sports, writing, medicine, wherever it is, what will be 5 good habits one should really have?
Well, the first one is whenever you find yourself in a tough spot where it looks like a deadlock, you don't have a solution at all, don't sweat it. Understand the situation, face it, and be there. That's what good entrepreneurs do, good entrepreneurial people do. Because what I found is that it's only when you get yourself between a rock and a hard place and you don't have anywhere to go that actually you become very creative and you find a solution to that problem. But if you keep running away from problems, you don't become a good problem solver. So when you face problems of consequence, those are opportunities, not a victim to life, right? Secondly, I think, and they all contribute to that, having that attitude that we talked about. You have to always sort of remember and be grateful to where all of us are. We're all the people listening to this video we're all very fortunate people.
Sure.
And we should never, never, never forget that. Sometimes what happens is that we get so self-absorbed and the small problems that we have take a life of their own. And then that diminishes our ability to keep the right perspective and be able to solve problems. So the more you're involved in solving the problems of other people, the fewer problems that you have in life, because it takes a whole new perspective. And so I think looking at the life as a whole thing, and also making sure that each one of us, understand our own importance. I mean, it's a big world, thousands of stars. You look at the universe, the planet, and we're just a small speck, and the world is going to go on, right?
Sure. Yeah. Of course.
So having sometimes what happens is you feel like you're at the center of the world. You're not.
You're not. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you cannot enjoy the vastness of everything that's going on.
Now, you brought a very interesting topic, being the center of the world. So we know from our own personal experience and living in the community and society and family that ego is a terrible thing to have. How does that ego plays in a business world and business life?
Well, ego is probably, I think you do need the drive, right? I mean, you need the drive, you need the ability to push forward. But you can either get it by having ego, or you can get it by truly, truly being inspired by the mission that you're on. And when you're truly inspired by the mission that you want to accomplish, then the only thing you're thinking about is how do we get there? And so you're not that focused on whether it's your idea, somebody else's idea, you get the credit, somebody else gets the credit, because it's such a joy getting and accomplishing that particular mission. And those entrepreneurs who have the drive because they have a strong commitment to the mission are always happier people. They're more successful. They leverage people. They leverage the environment around them, their resources. And so it's just a better way to live. So you don't need ego to be a driver. If you have a commitment to a mission and if we can inspire other people to be a part of that mission, then the drive is already there. You don't have to constantly be whipping people to say, hey, this is my idea, let's go, let's do it, kind of a thing.
Sure, sure.
And
Now, coming back to your book, actually, I found that book I have read it at least 3-4 times, and I always keep it, where I work. And so that book talked about, how to start a business and growing a business and making an impact, all the different phases you go through. So say I have an idea today that, oh, this is what my passion is, this is what I want to do. But I also look at the business conditions and the overall environment. And what should I do? What will be your...
Particularly if you're starting a new business today, it's a great time because you probably won't have a product for another 6 months, 12 months. And 6 to 12 months from now, we would have known how to deal with the COVID. So the question is, are you targeting the market that would happen 12 months from now, 24 months from now, and look forward as opposed to the way the market was maybe 12 months ago, 24 months ago? Because things are going to change. And when things change, people will not have the solutions that they need to adapt to that change. So it's a great opportunity to start new things. If you're already in business, things have changed. And so you have to sort of really figure out, there are some businesses which are growing more than they should because of the change, but a lot of the businesses are really hurting. And if you're hurting, you have to sort of cut your expenses. You have to find a way to get through this COVID situation and so on, the uncertainty. So managing a business that you already have is maybe a little bit harder than starting a new business.
Mm-hmm. What about, what are some of the sectors you foresee in the future that the growth is going to come from this industry or subsectors of the market?
Well, right now, what's hot is all the virtualization.
Sure.
Anything that you can virtualize, things should have happened, but whatever should have happened in 5 years is happening in 1 year. Right? So things are really accelerating. So anybody who has but at the same time, it's going to be a crowded marketplace. Everybody is going to be rushing to it. So it's a question of the who can win. So that market is hot. Anything where you need a physical presence is hard right now. That's a little bit hard. But if you're thinking about new ideas, I would be bold because a year, 2 years from now, hopefully would have beaten the pandemic, and I think we will, and the people will get back to normal. So it's
now, Desh, you have been also doing a lot of work in India, a lot of interesting, innovative projects there. So if I ask you to give a recap, say how India has changed in the last 10, 15 years, and how do you look at the future of India?
Well, the bad thing is the COVID has really impacted a lot of the people at the bottom, all the migrant workers, 300-400 million people at the bottom. And unfortunately, it's going to put the country back a little bit in terms of the development that we have had. But at the same time, the institutions have developed. And as the institutions are developed, you have opportunities to bring a lot of the tools together to move maybe a little bit faster. Let me just give you one example. We do a lot of work with the farmers and all the programs. We do 3 programs. One is teaching them better cultivation processes, getting better price for their producers through farmer producer organizations. And the third one is water, because water is the biggest multiplier of income.
Sure.
So we started this program called the farm pond, where you dig a hole that's 100 feet by 100 feet by 12 feet, right? And that's enough water to irrigate 5 acres of land. And it cost about 80,000 rupees to build one of those farm ponds. So we started the program in 2013 when Ratan Tata had come to the program, and he gave us 5 machines. So we did about 150 farm ponds and learned how to do it. Last 6 years, we've done 6,000 of them, where the farmer actually paid 70% of the farm pond. We paid 30%, we meaning us and other donors. But in December, starting in December, we're launching a 100,000 farm pond program, which is a 800 crore
December
program.
this year, coming December.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, so the villages seem to be working okay. But what's new here is the scale at which you can scale these programs. And the financial institutions, like the banks, the financial institutions, they're all very excited because this now lends itself to a far free market economy. You can bring technology to bear. There's a satellite that goes around and around India, clicking photographs every 5 days. And it's been doing it for 10 days. So we have our chief technology officer, who's based in Silicon Valley, has the ability to, you give him any piece of land, a farm, he can actually tell you the history for 10 years. Did the farmer, how many crops did he grow? How did the water flow on that farm and so on. And so we can design an ideal farm pond for him. We can monitor the farm pond construction. We can monitor whether the farmer is using it properly or not. So it's technology, financial institutions, ability to scale, a lot of these things. If more and more of those capabilities come together to solve the problems of the people at the bottom, I think we can again gain some momentum. But it is an unfortunate thing that this COVID has really hurt the country and put the country back several years.
Sure. Now, Deshpande Foundation has been also working here in the US as well with a lot of new, the entrepreneurs and who wants to get into, especially, from the communities who really need much more help. And have you seen there any change in their attitude because of COVID? Or so if you can just compare some sort of the world of entrepreneurship right now, India versus US.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think the kind of people that we work with in India and the kind of people that we work with in US are very similar. They're at the bottom, right? And so the program in US is called E for All, Entrepreneurship for All.
Right.
And the nice thing is, right now we run it in 10 places, and we have 500 businesses. 75% of them are led by women, 60% of them are of color, 50% of them were previously unemployed, right? And they all start businesses that hire maybe 1, 5, 10, 15, 20 people. So they're very community-based businesses. Now, we were expanding it. There's about 300 places where we can possibly take this program. Every place we go to, we start about 30 new businesses. So right now, 10 places, so we start about 300 new businesses every year. But if we get to take it to 300, we can start 9,000 new businesses every year, right? And so we were on some acceleration plan, but suddenly the COVID has given a big boost to that growth and acceleration, because the easiest way to scale these programs, it used to cost us about $300,000 to run a program in a community. But now we are able to run this program virtually, and people have accepted it, and it's just as impactful. The demand is very good. So now we can scale it and expand it a lot faster. So within a couple of years, if you can actually spread it out and start thousands of these new businesses, that's a real impactful way of solving this Black Lives Matter.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Equity. And so, I think crisis always creates opportunities. And the question is,
go ahead.
Are you able to grab it?
Yes, sure. So now on that note, as we come towards the end of the interview, I'm just going to paint just one quick scenario for different aspects of business life. And if you can just say one sentence or one liner on that particular situation, that will be our, what you call rapid fire.
Okay.
Okay. So the first scenario is that, I'm running a mid-size 100 people company, and I have enough to cover my payroll for the next 3-4 months. And I'm getting nervous what is going to happen. What will be your advice?
Increase your runway.
Increase your?
Runway. 3 months. See if you can actually pull it on for 6 months or 9 months.
So how I'm going to do that?
Well, you have to cut your expenses. If you don't have the businesses, you have to cut the expenses, and you can do it in a compassionate way, whatever you think is the right thing for everybody.
And I have just started a business, and business just took off, and then the COVID came, and I just don't know what should I do right now.
So you have a solution. Number one, make sure that that's a solution that's needed 12 months from now, 24 months from now. If you think it's a solution that just does not work, then there's no point in pursuing that solution. If you think that it will be a mainstream solution 12 months from now, 24 months from now, then I think cut your expenses and hang in there and really surgically keep improving that solution so that you're ready to take off when the market is ready.
Now, I have started a very cool company, and I have just raised, $50 million in venture capital, and I was just ready to rock and roll. But then this COVID came and it completely changed my business idea. But still, I'm in a good position to have that money and good stuff. What should I be doing?
Well, pivot, come up with obviously, if you got 50 million, I mean, that was a powerful idea. Mm-hmm. And maybe it has to be tweaked. So tweak the idea and keep going, because that's you're resourced. Right now, it's easier to get the talent. And people are so comfortable now and so productive working remotely that mm-hmm. Hopefully you can just pick up the pace and keep doing the right thing.
Now, for example, I have no idea. I'm a new graduate from MBA program of university, and I'm thinking about doing something in the entrepreneurial world. And but given the situation, I'm in a complete depression. And how should I come out of that?
Well, I think you should start networking. If what you really want to do is to start a business, mm-hmm. You should leverage TIE, and mm-hmm. there's a whole bunch of other organizations within Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. And because I think, so how do you know whether your idea is a good idea or a bad idea? Unfortunately, there isn't an easy way. Mm-hmm. So the only way you do is you iterate your solutions, right? And sure. So either you can have an idea that you just keep working on for a year or two and then know whether it's good or bad, or you can talk to a lot of people. And when people raise objections, it gives you an opportunity to refine your idea. So I think networking and connecting with a lot of people is probably the best thing those people can be doing.
Okay. Now, the last one is, I'm a big believer in charity, and I like, philanthropy, helping people. But I have no money. So, but still, how should I fulfill my philanthropic or charity dream?
Well, it's just whatever the nice things that you do, just call up a friend and say hello, or call somebody else and say, hey, how are you doing? And so whatever little ways that we can help, it doesn't matter whether you have a lot of money or no money. It's the genuine intention with which you're really trying to help people that makes a difference. Whether you make a difference in the lives of one person or a million people, that I don't know if that changes dramatically the amount of happiness that you get. So I think, it's a question of making sure that you really care. You have empathy. You really care for the environment, for the people around you, and do what you can.
Sure. And this your last word.
Well, I think I know it's easy for all of us to feel isolated, to feel lonely, but you can be alone, but you don't have to feel lonely. Connect with the people, talk to people, call people, and stay connected, stay energized, because this is not the end of the world. We've gotten through this, and we will get through this. And when the world starts ticking again, be there, be a leader who will lead that change. So I want to wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much for your time. It was wonderful to talk to you, always.
Thank you. Thank you, Upendra.
Sure.